How's it going, everyone? It's me, Sanitary 103. The other day I was going grocery shopping, and unfortunately I overheard a little bit. Some girl was on the phone. She was just arguing with her probably boyfriend or husband, whatever. And they were just going back and forth and screaming and yelling. It's an unfortunate situation. So it got me thinking. I want to do a quick video, hopefully not too long, and go over 5 pieces of key advice to sustain a lasting relationship and or marriage. Now, why would you want to listen to me? Well, you don't have to. I'm not a psychologist. I'm not Dr. Phil. I'm not a psychiatrist. But I do have personal experience. I've been with my wife been married for over half a decade, and we're together for 7-8 years before we got married. So I do have some experience. So take what you want from it. So the first piece of advice that I have to sustain a healthy relationship is to try not to use the word always. And I'm guilty of this when I get frustrated. For instance, don't tell your significant other or spouse a quote, "You always forget to take out the trash. How come you always forget to pick up the kids?" Now, is it really always? Probably not, but in the heat of the moment, if you're already frustrated and the recipient feels like they're being attacked and they hear the word always, how come you always forget to take out the trash? Well, always, the person's going to start saying, in their head or even to you, "What do you mean always? I did take out the trash. I just missed it this one time." So that creates a lot of hostility and animosity. So try to refrain from using the word always. Saying sometimes, or "I have noticed that you forgot to take out the trash," as opposed to always. Just replacing that one word. Wording is everything. You say that one word and it can make a key difference. So that's the first tip. The second tip that I have is to, whenever you get in an argument and you're getting to that point where things start escalating, and everyone's different, but if you start shouting back and forth, or one person shouting more than the other, and you feel like your body temperature is rising, and I've been known to have a temper as well, which I'm not proud of, and I'm working on continuously every day. But when you're getting to that point where it just becomes a shouting match, it's good to try to just remove yourself from the situation. Leave, go out for a walk, go into your car, like right here, go for a drive. Just remove yourself from the situation until the tempers cool down. Once the tempers cool down, usually you can have a bit more clarity and then tackle the issue on hand. So that's my second piece of advice. The third piece of advice, and speaking of, escalating feelings and getting angry, try not to go to bed angry. And depending on the circumstance, whatever the subject matter is, it can be very complicated, but try to find some type of compromise, some type of even keel, even ground before you go to bed. If two people are just at opposite ends of the spectrum with respect to something that they're arguing about, if they're completely on one end, one's on this side and one's on this side, and physically you're in the bedroom sleeping together and you're both like this, it's not going to be good. So I'm not saying you can resolve everything in one argument one night, but try to get to some even small type of compromise, because if you let it boil over the next day, it's just, you're going to wake up more pissed off. And who wants to go to work pissed off at work, pissed off at your spouse? So try not to go to bed angry. That's my third piece of advice. My fourth piece of advice is to do a random act of kindness. Now, when you're in a relationship for a long time, you can get to that point where things get a little bit bland, a little bit monotonous. And I'm not talking about just buying physical gifts and stuff. That's completely fine for Valentine's Day. I mean, it's a little cliche, but if you want to do it, that's cool. I'm not talking about stuff like that. I'm talking about a random act of kindness. For instance, if if your wife does the majority of the cooking, and then in passing, she said that she forgot to pick up some garlic or something, and she's had a real bad day, instead of making her pick up the garlic, why don't you just say, hey, surprise her. If you know you're going to get home before she is, pick up that garlic, give her a call and be like, I already picked it up, without even asking. This little small things like this does add up. It seems minuscule, but when you're in your relationship and someone just gets you and you don't have to even ask, that's a small random act of kindness. So that's my fourth piece of advice. My fifth piece of advice, and that is to say, I love you. If you love them, okay? So when we're not talking about the puppy stage, I would refrain from the L word. I don't have a set date or set time frame, but if you've only been with someone for a couple of months, you may think you love them, and it might just be the puppy stage, puppy love, as they say, infatuation stage. But over time, if you've been in an established relationship and you know you love that person, it's just good to always say it. Me and my wife, we say it pretty much every day. That could be a little excessive for some people. I'm not judging. I am kind of closed off a little bit due to whatever extenuating circumstances, how I was raised, not to show as much emotion, so I'm not as comfortable. It sounds weird, but you should say I love you. Now, actions do speak louder than words, but sometimes just hearing it. So if you and your wife are comfortable saying it once a day, that's cool. If you and your wife, or you and your spouse, excuse me, I got a little distracted, someone walking, wants to say it every few days or whatnot, just say it and mean it. Some people want to say it 15 times. I think that's too much. I love you. It's just like too much for me. So find that balance. And if one person feels like they're not hearing it, just, genuinely just say it and mean it. So anyways, that's my 5 pieces of advice, free advice. Take it for what it is. Let me know if you have any other piece of advice you'd like to give. I mean, there's tons of other things, be compassionate, this and that. But I think these 5 reasons, 5 pieces of advice is very valuable. And if you stick with these, you have a good chance in sustaining a long and healthy relationship. That's my time. Subscribe for the latest, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.